be awesome to play an ogre with 2 heads. You can make female models. Don't tell me they can't do it. They can do it easily. But these are things that people are asking for. What do we get? We got Draenei's that prayed and became gray. You have to apologize. I'm kind of a mess. But let's get into some story, because Blizzard's taking a lot of heat for BFA right now. I'm giving them some of the heat, don't worry. But there's something I wanted to talk about. And, boy, where to start, right? I could talk about the systems. I could talk about Class Fantasy is not a expansion feature, but they're absolutely doing that. Basically, BFA feels like it was half finished. I believe a lot of people feel this way, and I believe they're scrambling to pick up the pieces and try and put everything together. But one of the things that I'm actually sort of disappointed in is their storytelling. And I don't know if they were rushed, but they're trying to sell us an expansion that I don't think can be sold. Now, what is Battle for Azeroth? Battle for Azeroth is the expansion, this is how it was sold to us, of a war between the Horde and the Alliance. And while things look a little bit better at 8.1, these things should have been in the beginning once you hit max level, but we'll talk about that kind of stuff later. So, let's talk about why it's so hard to sell this. And unfortunately, I have to talk about things like superheroes. Oh, I know. There was an interview with Stan Lee in which they asked, what is the key to writing battles between superheroes? And he said, well, you're going to have people who love people on both sides. So you're going to have them sort of end on neutral terms. And this was, let me turn myself up just a little bit. There we go. Because you have people on both sides, you have to end it on neutral terms. We can go even a quick look back at Civil War. Captain America Civil War. You know, you had one side that kind of won, and then 10 seconds later the other side was out and everything's fine. And that's what worries me about these types of thing. Because half of your player base is Horde, half of it's Alliance, you're going to have them end on neutral terms. See MOP. We'll see the end of MOP for that. Where I thought the Alliance should just dismantle the Horde right there, but they didn't, because reasons. Now, BFA is hard to sell because it's like Blizzard didn't read their own lore and said, yeah, we can't recycle this, we can't recycle that. We have to do something new, and perhaps maybe it is, but we haven't seen the end of the story yet, right? But the beginning is not really looking any better. It's like they didn't learn any lessons. So, let's start at the beginning. I was actually excited for a faction war, but it really wasn't executed well. And there are moments where Blizzard knew exactly what they were doing. They wanted the Horde and the Alliance to kind of hate each other. We'll start in Silithus, right? The Horde said that the Alliance were the aggressors, and the Alliance said, yeah, they're there mining Azerite. They're obviously preparing for something. Now, this is where the faction divide started. And this is where things weren't told correctly because, and again, things were hidden behind a book. And hiding things behind a book isn't particularly a good idea. So let's go with just what we see in game up to the end of the pre-patch, and then I'll kind of add the book in there. So the Horde is mining Azerite, and they bring it to Sylvanas. Sylvanas touches it, says this will change everything. So she sent more troops to support. Now the Alliance scouts were there already, and they saw that they were mining this Azerite. Brought it to Enduin, and was like, what is this? We don't know. And then he's like, well, it seems the Horde does. So if we send troops, send the Alliance, the main Alliance general. And so when they got there, the Alliance were a little bit of aggressive. The Alliance attacked miners. And the reason they attacked the miners was because of their applications towards Azerite and what Azerite will be used for. Now let's take a step back. And this part actually isn't too bad. The opening of this storyline actually isn't too bad. If we take a step back to Warlords of Draenor, the Alliance was sent into Ashran to recover an artifact that would help them defeat the Iron Horde, and possibly the Horde if they should ever break the peace treaty. Now the Horde were sent in to recover the artifact first. The Alliance weren't there picking flowers in Ashran, so the Horde responded with aggression. The Horde wasn't in Silithus picking flowers, so the Alliance responded with aggression. I don't blame both sides. That, to me, is a non-issue. But let's continue down this rabbit hole. So Anduin says to the Alliance General, thanks for all this information. We're going to send you back with this fleet to support them. And meanwhile, Sylvanas tells the Horde General that Anduin's going to use Teldrassil, Darnassus, as a way to funnel Azerite through, and then they could just nuke Orgrimmar from wherever they wanted. Now, again, we're going just in-game. Now, this seems completely stupid, because Anduin's the one person who's always wanted peace. He would never use an Azerite bomb against innocent people. That's not who Anduin is. That's not who he's ever been. But, things happen in the book that I guess kind of give a little bit of logic to her, but we're not talking about the book right now. And this isn't seen in game. So the Horde sends an army instead to Ashenvale to kill Furbogs because, I guess Furbogs are going to be the new allied race for the Alliance. And then they push further into Darkshore, and this is where things get mucky, to say the least, and bad storytelling. Okay, we'll start with Sylvanas' plan. Occupy Darnassus, kill Malfurion, put his head on a pike so everyone can know that there's no reason to fight. They can just get him to surrender. They can keep the tree, and then whatever war, they can finish the war before it begins. Now, I don't know if you know about self-fulfilling prophecy. If you're going to start a war to end a war, you're just going to start a war. It's not going to work. There was a movie with, I think, Tom Cruise, where there was a Matt Damon. I don't know. Ben Affleck, one of those guys. He could see into the future, and he saw there was a disease outbreak in Britain, so they quarantined Britain, which started the outbreak. They went to war with Russia, went to war with them, so to stop that war, they started a war. That sort of thing. A lot of references, and they're gonna keep going. So please try and bear with me because this is gonna get weird. But anyway, so Sylvanas' plan was simple. Herself went to kill Malfurion, and I don't know which part of this is canon. I think none of it's canon. The Horde General being there and the Alliance General, either they both were there, or none of them were there. If they're both were there, none of it makes sense. Okay, let's say if it's canon from the Alliance point of view because I was there. So, if I see Malfurion fighting Sylvanas, I'm going to hop in on Sylvanas immediately. I'm just going to hop in on her immediately. And I'm going to leave nothing to chance. But I didn't. I walked up, I skipped up, and then I just sat there and watched. And then the Sylvanas grabs the Alliance General and just holds him there. She grabs the most powerful of your class, of the Alliance General, holds him there, doesn't kill him. A, how can she outpower us like that? B, how come she didn't kill us? Is it because it's not canon? But then why is it there? Why is it being told to us in that point of view? They hid everything else in the book. They could have hid that in the book as well. But they didn't. They showed it to us. And the Horde General just sat there as well and didn't hop in on Malfurion. He waited for Saurfang to say, my honor, and whip his axe at her or at Malfurion. And then just sit there because he wants to die, but he doesn't really want to die up until the burning of Teldrassil. He's okay with everything else, but Teldrassil's the last straw, I suppose, for him. Which I don't blame him, by the way. Anyway, so she leaves the Alliance General alive, leaves Saurfang to collect Malfurion's head. And he doesn't do that. He just sits there and, I want to know what he told Sylvanas. Man, I don't know what happened, man. Like 100 Night Elves showed up. Next thing you know, my feet are running away. I don't want to run. Look, Tarogar. That's the way I live, right? But they kidnapped him, and I was running, and it's all bad. But it's hard to know what he told Sylvanas because that kind of stuff isn't in game, which maybe it should have been. But anyway, so her mission's complete, and then she gets up to Teldrassil, and someone says, "I weep for you." And you can't kill Hope. And she's like, well, I'm mad now, so I'm gonna lash out like a prima donna. Is that bad to say? Nah, she's a prima donna. You guys will agree with me. And she just burns down Teldrassil. Saurfang, it says, my honor. He says, the Alliance will come for us now, all of them. And we do. And we get to Lordaeron, and everyone knows what happens. But something happens in Undercity, which again makes me believe Blizzard doesn't remember Mop. When the Alliance enters the throne room, Sylvanas says to Anduin, hopefully I quote this correctly, she says to him, "You serve peace when it suits you, but you're quick enough to fight," I believe is the wording she said. Should have wrote that quote down. You think if I was a better person, I would have done that, but oh well. Let's talk about that, Sylvanas. Let's go back to Mop. We'll go back to Mop. The Alliance and the Horde were hunting something called the Divine Bell. And they both found it. And Anduin tried to beat Garrosh there to try and knock some sense into him. "No, Garrosh, we can still be friends. We can still be free. No, Garrosh, don't do this." And Garrosh just kind of laughs at him. He's like, "Okay, fine." And he starts beating on the Divine Bell. And it enrages Garrosh, and he knocks the bell over on Anduin. I think he broke his leg. Or his arm? Was it his leg? I think it was his leg. He broke his leg. He ends up spending a couple months with Wrathion, which, poor guy. But after that, he still wanted peace. He didn't want to kill Garrosh. He didn't want to dismantle the Horde. He still wanted peace. He only wanted the person that was responsible to pay, and in a fair way. Again, if you read the book War Crimes, which is a repeat of basically of Battle for Azeroth as it was to WoD, you know that Blizzard likes to hide things behind books. I think the same thing. Yeah, same thing was with Kata, sort of, with Wolfheart, but not as bad. If I recall correctly. But let's take that moment. A bell was dropped on him, and he still wanted peace. That was a moment that didn't suit him. So why would she say to him, "You only serve peace when it suits him"? There's been many moments where all he wanted was peace. Even then, he just wanted Sylvanas to surrender. He didn't want her dead. But yeah, he only wants peace when it suits him. What kind of storytelling is that? I would have said, "Do you not remember what happened with Garrosh?" I was like honestly, I don't understand why she said the line. And it ended on a bad note for the Alliance again, which surprised me because that's one of those moments where it's like the Alliance won kinda, but then they lost, and the Horde just decimated Teldrassil. So I'm assuming there's going to be something in rebuttal to that at the end of the expansion. But again, they have to make it equal, right? Now, that's the opening to Battle for Azeroth. But if we talk about the book, things change. So when Sylvanas touched Azerite, she saw a world beneath her boots. She saw domination. That's from the book. Now, it's possible that she believed that Anduin felt the same way. Therefore, she wanted to strike first. And I believe that's the reasoning they used. But that's not shown in-game. It's an MMORPG. Show these things in-game. It takes 5 seconds out of a cutscene to just throw it in there as soon as she touched Azerite, to show a glimpse of her sitting on a throne and all the races kneeling before her. That's fine. Just do that. And when Anduin touches it, he saw peace. So when Anduin touches it, just show him sitting at a table eating with all the other races. 5 seconds out of each cinematic, you're done. There you go. But they didn't do that. And Sylvanas and Anduin talk in the book, by the way. She asks her things like, "Did you abandon my father on the Broken Shore?" And instead of her saying, "I had to do what was best for my people," she said, "Yeah, your father was going to die. No matter what happened that day, it was his destiny. He was just going to die." All right, thanks, Sylvanas. But those are just a couple of the things, and that's not even getting into the Desolate Council. That's not getting into Kaylee and Menethil becoming like this super powerful Valkyr sort of person. Sort of like a Valkyr, I guess. Valkyr are light beings. Sort of, a lot more powerful. But that's all in the book. And if you don't read the book, well, then I'm not gonna say anymore because we're talking about the game, aren't we? And I know some people are just gonna say, "LOL, we'll just read the books." And I suppose that is a response. I don't believe it is a fair response because it still has to be shown in game. And this is from somebody, by the way, who reads video game books, either reimaginings or prequels to expansions. And I still think that this kind of stuff should be in game, like Anduin resurrecting his father. Bet you didn't know about that, did you? That's just my point. And things don't get better from there. Okay, things don't all of a sudden become much greater. We had a cinematic with Saurfang, because I don't really understand Saurfang's storyline too much yet, but I think they're amping him up to be the next leader of the Horde because he's getting a lot of screen time, you know, and that's good and all, but I still think they should have gave it to Bane instead. But, you know, whatever. I guess no one likes Tarn, I guess. Apparently, sorry, guys. But there's the, you know, the old soldier cinematic, and that rubbed some people the wrong way. And people's response to that, too, was that makes up for the Broken Shore cinematic with Anduin. But really, the Broken Shore cinematic with Anduin was a response to Sylvanas becoming War Chief. So, sorry, that argument doesn't exactly work. But you're welcome to make the argument, I suppose, if you want to. BFA's story now is becoming kind of a mess of things. So again, remember what I said, that the clear expansion was the Horde and Alliance conflict. Now, what was Legion? The Burning Legion invading Azeroth. So let's talk about a couple of the subplots in Legion were the Old Gods and actually, well, I guess some Black Dragon. Most of it connected to either the Old Gods or to the Burning Legion in one form or another. You know, even the High Mountain, you know, every zone connected to one or the other. Even Ysera's Tier in Val'sharah connected actually to both, and it did it so well. In BFA, it's kind of not the same right now. At least it's not known. Because if you look at the Alliance heading into Kul Tiras, there's a bit of it with Jaina's storyline, and I like her storyline. It's not a bad storyline. You know, you had the Drust and Drustvar. You have that old Vrykruel. I guess it's just the Drust, which is sort of like a weird sub race for Vrykruel, and he's like a druid, and that gave me hope. But we got thick humans instead. But then you have Storsaw Valley with the Old Gods, and then you had Tiergard Sound with Lady Ashvane, who is going to play a little bit bigger role later on in the expansion. On the Horde side, and I apologize, I haven't had the stomach to even level another character because I haven't really had the stomach to play much. But as far as I can tell, it was Princess Talungi and Mithrax trying to stop the seals from being broken to release Gahoon. And who is Gahoon? Well, Gahoon's a sub old god. So I believe Loa, if you want to take as an example, Loa are like wild gods, but lesser wild gods. So Gahoon and Zalata, who is gonna play a role, they're sub old gods. They're powerful, but they're not as powerful as their predecessors. Oh yeah, and that's another thing too, is the subplot in Battle for Azeroth is starting to outshine the main plot. So there's a lot more Old God stuff going on than there is Horde versus Alliance. That seems actually like a more minuscule point. The only difference is, I guess we're getting a raid that has different bosses. Yay, we actually get a raid. But it's only going to be one raid, maybe two. I don't know how they're going to do the last raid in the expansion. I thought it was going to be the final battle between the Horde and the Alliance out at sea, but it's looking like it might not be the case. But as I said with a few of these things already, there are a couple things that already have people more interested in the main storyline. They can't sell. I don't believe they sold the Horde versus Alliance conflict very well. I believe that there are other things they could have sold a lot better, and there are a lot of hints or subplots in BFA that are actually, for me, greatly outshining the main storyline. I'll give you a couple of examples. The Chromie scenario, which happened, which is it happening? Is it? Maybe? No? Yes? No? No? Yes? No? Yes? We don't know if it's happening. It was supposed to happen, but it hasn't happened yet. And I believe that leads into some Morozond and Old God stuff, which it would probably be in the next expansion with one of these other hints. But we have the Nerubians making moves again. We have the Lich King who found out about his daughter. But I guess Bolvar found out about his daughter, not so much the Lich King, because is it his soul? I don't know. Anyway, Ner'zhul, or whatever Old God he serves now, if he does. Hard to say now, right? Because we really don't know. But it's a nice hint. You have Jurin the Bloodwake, who has 1,000 ships. He's a Vrykruel raider. He has 1,000 ships at his disposal, and maybe we'll see him, maybe we won't. That's interesting to me. Oh, and while I'm on that subject, okay, because I'm I hate allied races. Okay, allied races were those things where it's just like, hey, you want a more customization options? Well, sell it as a feature, expansion feature. Remember WoD when character, model upgrades were sold as an expansion feature? Well, this is sort of the same thing. I don't find the customization options too interesting. I have all the allied races unlocked. I've yet to level any of them. But this is why I think that there's the disconnect from Blizzard now is people have been asking for certain races for a long time. Ogres, Rykul. Rykul could be done. Rykul could be done extremely easily. They've set up so much lore around it, but they won't. And people say, oh, well, they're too tall. Well, just shrink them down. Culturians are big. Just make them that size. Make them that size. Give them the glorious beards. Have a rune master as a new class, a ranged class, which people have been asking for a while. Have the ogres with 2 heads. Are you kidding me? That'd be awesome. It'd be awesome to play an ogre with 2 heads. You can make female models. Don't tell me they can't do it. They could do it easily. But these are things that people are asking for. What do we get? We got Draenei's that prayed and became gray. We got heavy metal dwarves. Heavy metal dwarves are pretty cool, but these are customization options. These aren't new things. Oh, and while I'm on the thing of adding Vrykul, Blizzard, here you go. I have a free flirt. If Blizzard ever sees this, hopefully they will. They probably won't, though. Let's be honest. It's going to get 20 views. If Blizzard ever sees this, I'm going to give you guys a free Vrykul flirt and a free Kavaldir joke. You can do Vrykul for Alliance, and you can do Kavaldir for Horde. Easily, right? They both serve the different people. So, here is the Vrykul flirt. Hey, baby. Want to come back to my place and Ragnarok the house? See? Boom. Done. Here's the joke for the Kavaldir. I tried to grab the fog once. I missed. I expect $30 in my bank account, Blizzard. You're welcome. But that's not the only hint that we got was during the Bloodwake. We also got things like Wrathion scouring the Dragon Isles. What? So the Dragon Isles are actually a thing? We've been wanting that in a game for a while. Rathion's kind of taking the back seat again. Well, maybe that'll be in BFA, but I wouldn't expect that till the next expansion. There's another one called the Elemental Core. These are all looted from Island Expeditions, by the way. And you talk to Hydraxian dude, and he says that the lesser lords are trying to overthrow the elemental lords. So you have the elements, which, that might be in another expansion from now. You also have things like Helia's not dead. Yay! Because nobody stays dead anymore, right? That's too convenient now. Is people staying dead in TV shows, video games, and movies? That's a thing of the past. And to me, it's bad writing. If you focus on a character's death, it should kind of stay dead. And you know how we had Orc Jesus? This is all connecting, by the way. You know how we had Orc Jesus in Cataclysm? We have Troll Jesus now. We have Vol'jin, who's back from the dead, and no one knows why. Well, maybe it's Azerothian. Possible. Maybe she has that kind of power. It all depends on what the planes of existence and how they connect. That never gets explained. But we're supposed to believe Sylvanas can just sit there and lie to us for 3 minutes. But I'm going to give you guys an example of this, too. It's the Supernatural. Ever seen that show? If you've seen that show, you know exactly what I'm about to tell you. If you haven't, let me inform you. There's this thing in Supernatural that's a running joke. It's that nobody stays dead. You have the two main characters who are brothers, and one dies, and then the other one's like, oh god, what does this guy do? And then he comes back to life, he's like, I'm not actually dead. Oh, cool, then this one dies, and then it's happened a few times. There's an angel that dies a couple times. There's a couple angels that die a couple times. But it's just nobody stays dead. And it gets old, it doesn't get suspenseful, and things aren't meaningful if people don't stay dead. Us breaking the Prime Designate out of the Halls of Valor isn't meaningful now because that whole thing we done was useless. Well, how is he able to escape now? Did she loosen the hold when she died? Not died? Did she just get weakened where her bond broke and she can't put that bond back up? We don't know. These are just hints that we have. Why, who told Vol'jin to make Sylvanas leader? Was it Sylvanas? Was it something in the realm of the dead? Was it Helia? I mean, Helia and her had a pact that we kind of still don't know what it is. Possible that it's Helia. It's also possible that it's the old gods. Possible, but whatever brought him back wasn't the same thing. Oh, well, okay. But, these things are all not Horde versus Alliance. These things are all subplots. These are the things people are talking about. Zalata's back, and she's actually like a form now, thanks to, you know, the Horde and the Alliance General, or whichever you play. But these things are cool. These things are over here, but the main focus is supposed to be Horde versus Alliance. And that's not getting sold well. And I think they know people don't really care too much about that, so they're fluffing up the other stuff to kind of push one out of the way. Filler expansion, if you will, which I don't like filler expansions too much. Sort of like WoD was a filler expansion for Legion, and it was. And WoD wasn't a good expansion. I think that's everything. There is so much to go through, because there's a lot of hints, and they're like, oh, when's this going to happen? Oh, when's this going to happen? Really, nothing's happening now. Legion was great, because, again, it had a strong main story narrative. We knew exactly what we're going to every zone to do. We had a main goal. Even helping the Prime Designate was so we could grab the Aegis. We went back to help him, I guess, as a courtesy to him. And also, he's Prime Designate. You know, he's a Titan Keeper. I guess we've helped out, you know, Raden, for example. We didn't have to help him out, but we chose to. And the only thing that was out of place was Old God stuff, but Old God stuff has sort of been mixed into, like, many expansions. You know, Lich King served Yogg-Saron, for example, which wasn't really told well in game. And that's why I think N'Zoth, by the way, won't be the last boss in BFA. He's set up to be like Sargeras. In the same sort of storytelling narrative, he's going to kind of weave in and out of the picture for a while, until we fight him in his full glory. So I wouldn't expect him for a couple more expansions. If he's in the next expansion, man, boy, I'll feel foolish. That's just the story, by the way. That's just my issues with the story. And I didn't talk about class fantasy and how that's gone for a lot of people. I didn't talk about their looting system and how people feel like they don't really have control anymore. I didn't talk about how Blizzard's fluffing the game with things you'll probably never get. Even they knew this full well in Island Expeditions, and they had to buff the drop rate of mounts, pets, and things like that because people just weren't getting them. It's like the Emissary cash rewards from Legion. You know, I still don't have the Val Najar Stormring, and I've been, every time it's up, man. Every time the Val Najar's up and the Kirin Tor of Dalaran are up, I do them on multiple characters, and I still don't have it. And for me, that kind of fluff is not good for the game, because I'd rather be able to earn stuff. I don't want to feel lucky. I don't want to feel lucky in a video game anymore. I want to feel like my skill and my prowess will earn me these things. I hate low drop rates on things. That's why I like the Mage Tower. My werebear was me earning it, getting it, using it with pride. And that was, they nailed that in Legion. But now everything's just a slot machine, man. Everything is just random chance. And yeah, you could say it's always been that way, but it's a lot more now. There's a lot more of it. And people say, well, that just means there's more stuff you can try and win. No, that doesn't make the game better. It just makes it more of a loot box system that's not a loot box system. And if you don't think that Warforged items, Titanforged items aren't part of this loot box system, the same type of system, then I'm sorry, you're going to have to dig a little bit deeper. Because you get one piece of gear, okay? Open a loot box, what do you get? Let's say you open a loot box for, you know, if you've played Overwatch, Winston. Let's say you open Winston, you can get 5 different skins. Okay, you get like all the same or whatever. Or you get 4 that you hate, 1 that you like. You loot an item from World of Warcraft. You get the base item, then you get it with a socket. Then you get it with indestructible or speed, or I think that's it. And then you can get it Warforged with a socket, with speed, with indestructible. Then you can get a Titan Forged with a socket, with speed, with indestructible. I could keep going. But these are the types of things that for me, don't add to the game at all. It doesn't add anything. It just means what was a for sure item that was still based on luck now has more luck added to that item. Is it exciting to get a mythic Titan forged with socket and indestructible? Absolutely. Is it fun to get that item regular? Depends on what you're wearing. Is it fun to never get that item? No. And I'm ranting on this too far. This is supposed to be a story video. I'm going to end with this. Battle for Azeroth story is not over. It has the potential to have these twists and turns that'll make us go, that'll make, like the wide-eyed, like I want that reaction like I did in this cinematic. Because the cinematic was beautiful. But if they end on, oh, Sylvanas was corrupted, I'm going to be pissed. If they end with Vol'jin's, oh, he got a new body or whatever, I'm going to be pissed. If they end on the Alliance of the Horde coming to an agreement and nobody doing anything, I'm going to be pissed. Because these things are all things that, well, yeah, of course they were going to end like that. And that's just not exciting. But if they blow me out of the water with, oh, Anduin just stabs Sylvanas in front of everyone, color me impressed, okay? Because that's an ending that I would like to see. Or maybe, Vrykul joining one of the... No, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. I don't know why I keep wanting it. It's just never going to happen. Anyway, guys, what's bugging you about the story? What are you looking forward to? What excites you? Let me know in the comments below. Holy lightning, this video is long. I'm sorry. Don't hate me. Alright, guys. But yeah, throw it a like. Give it a like, because that's going to help me out. Comment, because I want to know what you guys are thinking. I don't know if I'm in a minority or if I'm in a majority. But let me know. And don't forget to share the video, too, because sharing it really helps me, guys. Thank you guys so much. I'm going to go just... look up all the things I got wrong. Bye.